Ahmed was 24 years old, juggling his university studies and part-time work. He was like any other young Muslim trying to navigate life in a world where the lines between halal and haram often feel blurry. He prayed, sometimes on time and sometimes not. He fasted during Ramadan. He tried to stay on the straight path, but he was lonely. And that loneliness, it was the perfect setup for what was about to come next. It all started innocently enough. Ahmed met Sara through a mutual friend. She was kind, intelligent, and shared his sense of humor. At first, their conversations were casual. They talked about their studies, shared funny memes, and discussed their aspirations. Ahmed felt seen, heard, and understood in a way he hadn't in a long time. She was someone he could talk to about anything. And for Ahmed, who often felt isolated in his struggles, this connection felt like a lifeline. But what began as innocent exchanges quickly escalated. Their chats became more frequent, stretching into the early hours of the morning. Ahmed started looking forward to her messages more than anything else. He found himself smiling at his phone, rereading their conversations, and feeling a warmth that he hadn't experienced before. It was intoxicating. Sara, too, seemed invested. She'd ask about his day, offer words of encouragement when he was stressed, and even talk about her dreams for the future. Ahmed began to imagine a life where she was part of his. He told himself that this was normal. After all, wasn't everyone his age dating? He thought he could handle it, that it wouldn't interfere with his deen. Weeks turned into months, and Ahmed found himself emotionally dependent on Sara. He started prioritizing their conversations over everything else. If he missed a prayer because he was texting her, he'd shrug it off. If he stayed up late talking to her and couldn't wake up for Fajr, he'd promise himself it was just this once. Deep down, though, he felt a gnawing guilt. He knew he was crossing boundaries, yet he couldn't bring himself to stop. One evening, Sara sent him a voice message. Her voice was soft, filled with concern and care as she asked him about his struggles at work. Ahmed played the message repeatedly, his heart swelling with emotions he didn't fully understand. He started to rationalize their relationship, telling himself that maybe, just maybe, this could lead to something halal in the future. But in the present, it was anything but halal. Ahmed's friends began to notice a change in him. He stopped attending Islamic study groups and started skipping their usual Friday hangouts. When they asked him about it, he'd shrug and say he was busy. In truth, Ahmed was losing touch with the things that once grounded him. His world now revolved around Sara, and the more he invested in this relationship, the further he drifted from his deen. At first, Ahmed tried to justify it to himself. What's the harm? Everyone my age is dating. It's just texting. We're not doing anything serious. But deep down, he knew. He knew that every time he texted her instead of opening the Quran, every time he spent hours on the phone instead of praying Isha, he was making a choice. And that choice was pulling him further from Allah. Still, Ahmed clung to the relationship. Why? Because it was easy, because it felt good, and because walking away seemed impossible. He convinced himself that he could balance it all, his deen, his relationship, his future. But the cracks were already showing. One evening, as Ahmed scrolled through social media, he came across an Islamic reminder. When you love something more than Allah, it becomes a test, and that test can lead you astray. The words hit him harder than he expected. Ahmed began to reflect on his actions. Was this relationship truly bringing him happiness, or was it a distraction from what really mattered? These thoughts lingered in his mind, planting seeds of doubt. One evening, Ahmed's mother sat him down. She noticed that something was off. "Ahmed," she said gently, "you seem distracted lately. Is everything okay?" Her words hit him like a thunderbolt. Distracted? That was an understatement. Ahmed wasn't just distracted. He was consumed by a relationship that he knew wasn't right. That night, Ahmed couldn't sleep. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying his mother's words. For the first time in months, he let himself feel the guilt of missing prayers, the guilt of putting someone else above Allah, the guilt of knowing better but not doing better. It was overwhelming. The next day, Ahmed tried to pray Fajr on time. As he bowed down in sujood, he felt a wave of emotion wash over him. For the first time in a long while, he asked Allah for help. Ya Allah, guide me. Help me to do what is right, even if it's hard. It was a small step, but it was the beginning of his journey back. Desperate for clarity, Ahmed reached out to his local imam. He poured out his heart, confessing everything. The imam listened patiently, then said something Ahmed would never forget. Ahmed, Shaytan makes sin look beautiful, especially when you're young and searching for love. But remember, true love begins with loving Allah first. When you love Him, He fills your heart with peace and guides you to what is best for you. The Imam's words were a balm for Ahmed's aching soul. But they weren't just words. The Imam also gave him practical advice. Distance yourself from the relationship. Fill your time with dhikr, salah, and good company. And when you feel weak, remember the reward of sacrifice for Allah's sake. Ahmed nodded, but doubt still lingered in his heart. How could he let go of someone who had become such a big part of his life? Would he ever feel whole again? The Imam reassured him. Ahmed, every test you face is an opportunity to grow closer to Allah. Trust in Him, and you'll find the strength to overcome this. Letting go wasn't easy. Ahmed wrestled with his emotions every single day. There were moments when he wanted to reach out to Sara, to hear her voice, to go back to the comfort of their conversations. But every time he felt weak, he reminded himself why he was doing this. He wasn't just letting go of Sara. He was letting go of anything that stood between him and Allah. Ahmed started filling his time with better habits. He began praying on time, attending Islamic lectures, and surrounding himself with friends who reminded him of his deen. Slowly but surely, he felt the weight lifting. As the days turned into weeks, Ahmed began to feel a transformation within himself. Initially, the emptiness from distancing himself from Sara was overwhelming. He missed the constant companionship, the shared jokes, and the feeling of being cared for. But he replaced those feelings with something much more profound: his connection with Allah. He started dedicating his mornings to Fajr, staying on his prayer mat a little longer after Salah to recite Quran. The beauty of Allah's words began to fill the void in his heart. One verse in particular struck him deeply. And whoever fears Allah, He will make for him a way out and will provide for him from where he does not expect. Ahmed reflected on how, for so long, he had sought peace and fulfillment in people and worldly relationships, forgetting that true peace only comes from Allah. Slowly but surely, he began to feel a sense of contentment that he hadn't felt in a long time. Recognizing the importance of surrounding himself with positive influences, Ahmed made a conscious effort to rebuild his social circle. He joined a youth group at the masjid, where he met brothers who shared his struggles and aspirations. One of the brothers, Hamza, became a close friend. Hamza's story mirrored Ahmed's in many ways, and their conversations were a source of strength for both. They shared reminders, encouraged each other to stay consistent in their prayers, and held each other accountable. Ahmed realized how much easier it was to stay on the right path when you're not walking it alone. The brotherhood he found was a reminder of the hadith. A man is upon the religion of his best friend, so let one of you look at whom he befriends. Tirmidhi. Months later, Ahmed found himself reflecting on his journey. He thought about Sara and the lessons her presence had taught him. While it had been painful to let go, he was grateful for the wake-up call it gave him. He realized that love, when placed in the wrong context, can be a test rather than a blessing. He also understood the importance of patience and trust in Allah's timing. Ahmed made dua for Sara, asking Allah to guide her and grant her peace, just as he had found peace in his reconnection with Allah. With his newfound clarity, Ahmed dedicated himself to serving his community. He found joy in helping others and discovered that the more he gave, the more fulfilled he felt. Ahmed's story didn't end with a picture-perfect conclusion. Life wasn't suddenly free of struggles. But now, he had the tools and the faith to navigate those struggles. His journey wasn't about perfection, but about progress and sincerity. And that, my dear brothers and sisters, is Ahmed's story. A story of struggle, heartbreak, and ultimately, redemption. It's a reminder that no matter how far you may feel from Allah, He is always near. You just have to take that first step back. If you're struggling with something similar, know that you're not alone. It's never too late to realign your heart with what truly matters. And remember, every sacrifice you make for Allah's sake is rewarded in ways you can't even imagine. Jazakumallahu khairan for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Islamic Squad for more stories and reminders. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.